Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Chief Petty Officer Glenn Cleary. We warmly welcome the family of Flight Sergeant Brian Gordon Grasby, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors. If able, I'd invite you all now to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those listed on the Roll of Honour, which lists more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Brian Gordon Grasby. Brian Gordon Grasby was born on the 16th of September 1922 in Harndorf, South Australia, to Harold and Dorothy Grasby. Growing up, the young Brian Grasby attended Balhanna Public School. Despite topping all of his classes, he did not go on to secondary school as there was no high school in the area. Instead, he began working as a farmhand. Grasby was shy, quiet, and loved reading books. His fellow workers nicknamed him the Professor because he always was reading and always telling them about what he had learned. After the outbreak of the Second World War, Grasby was keen to join the Air Force. To achieve this goal, he undertook a maths correspondence course, learning trigonometry and logarithms. In 1942, he enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force and began training as a wireless operator and air gunner. In 1943, Grasby left Melbourne for overseas service, travelling first to Canada and then Britain. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,000 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners and engineers who throughout the course of the war joined the Australian and British squadrons in Britain. Arriving in Britain in June 1943, Grasby undertook further specialist training before being posted to number 467 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force. As part of Bomber Command, number 467 Squadron flew 4-engined Avro Lancaster heavy bombers. On the night of the 10th of May 1944, Grasby was the wireless air gunner in a Lancaster taking part in a large raid on the railway yards in Lille in northern France. The raid was in support of the Allied landings in Normandy that would occur in early June. The raiding force was under constant attack from the German night fighters, and eventually Grasby's Lancaster was shot down, crashing into a factory in the southeastern suburb of Lille. Everyone aboard was killed, including Flight Sergeant Brian Grasby, who was just 21 years old. Today, his body is buried in the Helms Lille Communal Cemetery in Lille. Underneath the epitaph chosen by his parents, his duty nobly done. Grasby's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Brian Grasby, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you're able, please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.